gonna
They're not in
now.
yet. Okay, yeah. All
Uh,
right, so we're live on YouTube. Let's not now hit the plug, the little, there you go. So I should start recording this one. Okay. All right, so now at 7, we got it at 7 o'clock. We can start letting. Yeah. That's weird too. I only see 3 people on the 7 people waiting. Oh, look, you can hit hit all at the top. Now let them all
do we
in at
want to
one
do that
time.
right now?
At 7 o'clock, right at 7 o'clock.
All right.
So you still got a minute. But I'm saying you don't have to do them individually, just hit admit all.
I think that's another package there that Kathleen printed the first page of this announcement.
Should I give Eric a minute to call him real quick?
What you think? Mayor, should we wait for Eric to get on before we start the meeting, or? You're muted, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Let's give him a minute. We still got a minute to go anyway.
I texted Todd St. Cyr to see if he was going to be joining us. He said he will be late. 3 girls had 3 games in 3 different gyms. Mayor, have you gotten any responses for the opinions on Tiffany serving as a magistrate or traffic court?
Well, we got one from the Bar Association, basically said they didn't want to give a response. We have not heard back from the Attorney General yet, so.
Thank you, sir.
Is that Eric? I mean, I thought it was. Yeah, we might have to start without him in a second.
All right, I'm letting everybody in.
Madam Clerk, looks like we have one guest that isn't muted yet. Dane Doucette.
Unmute.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. Okay, the virtual meeting for December 17th, virtual council meeting for December 17th is now called to order, Madam Clerk.
The Council of the City of Harahan was unable to operate due to quorum requirement in compliance with LARS 4219 and will be meeting via video conference.
Okay, Madam Clerk, pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
to
justice for all.
justice for
all right, Councilman Asbell,
Present.
Councilman Buddy,
Present.
Councilman Chatelain, Councilman Johnston,
Present.
Councilman Wheeler,
present.
Mayor Bodier,
Present.
Police Chief Walker,
Here.
Fire Chief St. Cyr, absent. Finance Director Todd Tunion,
Present.
City Attorney Scott Stansberry,
Present.
and Municipal Clerk Nicole Lee is present.
Just a quick update on some things that we've been working on, and a quick shout out. I want to put really thank the maintenance department, the fire department, and the police department, with help through this past hurricane season. We avoided a bunch, but we did get one at the very tail end, and everybody put a real team effort out to get out there and really work hard and get the streets cleaned up. It was a great team effort. I love to see the city come together, and I think it really worked out well for us, and we've learned a lot again this year, like we should do every year. We have some things that we've been working on, some new exciting ideas. We've been talking to AT&T about providing better technology to help us respond to emergencies. We've also been talking with Canadian National, which is the railroad that you see with the CN on the side of the car, and they've expressed some interest in helping us with Zerang Park and possibly helping us, with the railroad festival, since it is a railroad. And we're also talking to Nora Gold, the professional rugby club, about putting on a clinic and a fundraiser at the playground. and also maybe making more of a significant impact in our community. And that's just a few of the things we got going on. We really try to reach and see and try to unturn every stone we can to involve people in the city of Harahan and bring it back to the prominence that it once was. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I have a motion to amend the agenda to add proposed ordinance 2020-29 to ordinances for introduction, the title of which is an ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances by the addition of Article 9, false fire alarms, Section 5890 through 58, and 9 to Chapter 58, nuisances, to declare repeated false fire and/or emergency alarms nuisances and to set penalties for repeated false alarms.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to add said ordinance. What is that ordinance number one more time?
2020-29.
2020-29 to the agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Buddy. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Five. This was any yeas? Nays? 4 yeas. No nays. 1 absent. Ordinance
Thank
has been added. Thank you.
All right. Special presentations number 1, Edward A. Holmberg III, it's a proclamation.
Okay, here you go. Whereas Edward A. Humberg III retired from being the administrator of the New Orleans Fiscal Office on October 30th, 2020. And whereas in 1976, Edward graduated from the University of New Orleans with a bachelor's degree in accounting and was hired by the state of Louisiana Office of the Secretary, where he worked for 44 years, where Edward distinguished himself as a dedicated, loyal, and hardworking public servant. And whereas Edward provided I can't read this, what do you even have? Oh, invaluable leadership and guidance through the work that he did with. Edwards is married to Charlotte, and together they shared 3 children and 2 grandchildren. And whereas Edward lives a quiet life characterized by devotion of his faith, family, and friends. Now, therefore, I, Timothy Bodier, Mayor of the City of Harahan, by virtue of the authorization vested in me, do hereby proclaim October 30th, 2020 in the City of Harahan, Edward A. Holmberg III Day, in honor of his retirement, and ask our citizens and friends to acknowledge and celebrate with him this wonderful milestone in his life. And witness thereof, I have hereunto said my hand and cause of this seal to the City of Harahan affixed this 15th day of December in the year of our Lord 2020. Thank you, Mr. Edward, for your service to this community and every community you represented. Madam Clerk.
New business number 2, Chief Walker, current state of the Harahan Police Department.
First, good evening to everybody. Assistant Chief, thanks here myself. We're both back at work. I was out with the virus. I want to thank everyone for the calls, the messages, the emails, the cards, and most importantly, the prayers. This virus is real, folks. Please stay safe. Also, Halloween night, Chief St. Cyr, myself, and members of the police department were on Stoneleigh and Dosha, and there was probably 400 to 500 trick-or-treaters that were out. Not many residents participated. Around 8:30, the street was clear and no incidents. Also in October, our department participated again with the Drug Enforcement Agency with the semi-annual drug take-back program at police headquarters and also at the Walgreens drugstore, 8225 Jefferson Highway. We had one of the biggest take-backs that we've ever had since I've been here. Over 160 pounds were turned in. I might add that the Harahan Police Department and also Walgreens drugstore would both have drug take-back boxes. Ours is in our lobby at the police department, 24 hours a day, accessible. The one at Walgreens is in the rear of the store by the pharmacy. Remember, if you see something, say something. Don't hesitate to call 911. And that's it.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
Right, approval of the minutes. Reading of the minutes of the council meeting on October 15th.
Okay,
Move
public
to
hearing
dispense
now
with the
open.
reading of minutes.
Now, you want to give anybody a chance to raise their hand? Public hearing is now open.
Sure.
Okay. No hands raised? Okay,
All right.
public hearing is now closed. I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minute, approval of the minutes by Councilman Asbill. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent. The minutes are approved.
Approval of the minutes of the council meeting on October 15th.
Okay, we'd like to open for public hearing. No hands raised. Okay,
Sorry, just, if we can just point out to the citizens, if they want to comment on something, to raise their hand in the little chat box area. I don't know if we gave that instruction this time.
okay, no hands being raised. We'll now close public hearing. Do I have a motion to dispense with the approval of the approval of the minutes?
Not dispense, we're doing
With a motion for the approval of the minute. Do I have a motion to dispense with the approval?
We're just motioning to approve the
This
minutes.
motion to approve the minutes. All right, here we go.
Move to approve the minutes.
Okay, we got a motion by Councilman Asbill, second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent. Minutes are approved. Madam Clerk, communications.
Reading of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Board on November 4th.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Raise your hand if you'd like to speak. Okay, no one raising their hand. Public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes from the Planning and Zoning from November 4th, 2020? Do we have a motion?
Motion.
By Councilman Buddy, second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absence.
And approval of the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Board on December 4th.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Please raise your hand.
Let's see.
Okay, no one raising their hand. Public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the Planning and Zoning from December the 4th, 2020? A motion? Motion by Councilman Miller, second by Councilman Buddy. All in favor?
Yay.
Okay.
Yay.
4 yeas, 0 nays, 1 absent. Ordinances for approval.
We're on resolutions. Let's see. Oh, no, ordinances.
Oh.
Yeah, right. There are no resolutions and ordinances for approval. The following ordinance, this is proposed ordinance number 2020-16. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Chatelain and seconded by Councilman Asbill.
Okay, we'd like to open now public hearing.
Wait.
Anyone want to speak on this ordinance? Please raise your hand.
Let me just read the title real quick, Mayor. An ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances by the addition of Article 4 Electronic Enforcement to Chapter 50 Motor Vehicles.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Okay, no hands are raised. Public hearing is now closed.
There is no,
Up, there is somebody's at a hand up.
yes,
Okay,
hello,
okay, we can hear you.
I'm against this ordinance. I don't think we need speeding cameras in the city of Harahan. We have a good police force, let them do their job.
Okay. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
I actually agree with Miss Judy, and it's the same with Mr. Gregory. He came up at last meeting we had, and he spoke his piece about it, saying it's a money grab, and I do believe it is a money grab. I will be voting against it.
I think the ordinance needs work. We made an effort recently to try to get together. One of the other councilmen and I and City Attorney Scott Stansberry, we weren't able to do it because of scheduling conflicts. And apparently no other city has had its ordinance tested in court. At least that's my latest understanding. When this ordinance was drafted, I think some of us understood that we were using an ordinance from a city where it had been tested in court and withheld the scrutiny of a challenge. So I would like to defer to the ordinance.
I would like to call for the vote.
All right, well, Mr. Buddy said called for the deferral first, so we have a motion on the floor for a deferral. Do I have a second? All right, no second. Mr. Buddy's motion dies. Okay, can I have a motion for the vote? Call for the vote. All in favor? All right, all you guys in favor of proposed ordinance 2020-16? Can y'all hear me? Oh, I can't hear nothing. Oh, they having a technical difficulty. 1 second. Okay, can I hear y'all? Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, we heard you before.
Yes, we can hear you.
I didn't hear the vote. I'm sorry.
So we're not deferring. If no one else has discussion, I guess we just vote on the ordinance. correct?
Eric actually just came in. Might want to see if Eric has any comments.
Eric, yeah, we can see you just fine, Eric.
Wait, he's got to get his mic on.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Close that door, Eric.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, so Eric, we're in a discussion on the first ordinance, if you have any comments on it.
I'll let you comment on it, and then I'm going to comment on it if you don't mind.
I'm against that first ordinance for the digital camera deal. The way I look at it is, if the Harahan Police Department takes their cameras, shoots a radar at somebody doing 40 miles an hour in a 30 miles an hour speed zone, it issues them a ticket. That happens at 10:55. At 11:05, this guy gets in an accident, kills somebody, and he's intoxicated. If we'd have made that traffic stop, we would have eliminated that. So I'm going to be a no vote on this.
All right, the reason why, I guess the reason why this ordinance initiated is because there were some residents in the city that were having just consistent traffic problems on their street repeatedly. And it was hard for the officers to be there all the time, sitting in that one spot, especially Oak Street and East and then Hickory. Hickory and then River Road. So that was how the ordinance was actually, it was citizens that actually asked to do some investigation in some digital traffic enforcement, but it's your guys' prerogative on how you vote. So, all right, so we calling for the vote. All in favor? All opposed?
Hey,
Hey.
All right. 0 yeas, 5 nays, ordinance fails. Madam Clerk?
Proposed ordinance number 2020-24. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill and seconded by Councilman. Who would like to second this one?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
An ordinance implementing a hiring freeze for Harahan Police Department of the City of Harahan in accordance with LSARS 33-423.2.
Okay, anyone want to speak on this ordinance? Public hearing is now open. Any hands, Nicole? I can't see him.
Not yet, no, sir.
Okay, no hands. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion?
Move to defer this ordinance to the next meeting, to the
Well,
January regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to defer proposed ordinance 2020-24 to the January meeting. Do I have a second?
Before we vote, and I don't want to forget Councilman Asbill, I want to chat with you about section 3. So maybe we'll do that offline. But
10-4.
thank you.
Okay. Motion to defer. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by, who is that?
Chatelain.
Second by Chatelain. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion is deferred. Ordinance is deferred, sorry. Madam Clerk?
Okay, proposed ordinance number 2020-25. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Chatelain and seconded by Councilman, who would like to second this one?
I'll take it. Oh, as a,
An ordinance approving the preliminary re-subdivision plat of lot A2B1, Soniat or Chapatoulas subdivision, City of Harahan, Parish of Jefferson, State of Louisiana, into lot A2B1A, Soniat or Chapatoulas Plantation subdivision, in lots 9 through 14, Colonial Place, Phase 1, all pursuant to a plan made by Ronald Clement, PLS, dated September 24th, 2020. And we do have someone that raised their hand. Let's see.
Okay, the public hearing is now open.
Okay.
Okay.
Justin Schmidt, let me unmute him. All right, Justin.
Good evening. Justin Schmidt, 909 Poydras Street. I'm a land use attorney here in the town, and I represent 9 separate property owners on Colonial Club Drive across from the proposed re-subdivisions that we're going to see in 2025 and 2026. My comments on both of them are probably the same, although I'm late coming to the game. I've got caught up as best I can, and it seems like there's already been some deviations from some of the agreements that were made back in over the course of the development of this, specifically in Ordinance 1777, when we're restricting lot access to not be on Colonial Club Drive. There apparently was supposed to be a secondary main entrance over on the west side of the property from Jefferson Highway. There's a couple of problems I see. We're asking to put in this particular docket another 8 houses along that row of 9 closer to Jefferson Highway, where there really shouldn't have been anything. And then we're asking to put another 34 homes a little further back. And then there's still a big question mark. The problem is Colonial Club Drive is 20 feet wide. I measured it at 6 different points this morning with a ruler, a walker, and at the various fire hydrants along, and those were the spots, but nowhere near the proper width of a street to handle this much traffic on these streets for all the houses that y'all are building back, that you want to, that have been applied for back there. You've also got a significant sewer problem. I've got a copy of the sewer lift map that I'm looking at that's on your website, and I've visited with Jefferson Parish as well. In fact, last Wednesday's parish meeting, there was a solicitation for some sewer work to be done along Colonial Drive. So that's in the hopper. None of this really has been addressed by the developer so far. We're looking at and the biggest problem is, how many more houses are we going to get out of the rear portion, what's left between the new 34 houses in the river, I guess. My clients, it's been rumored that this is going to be a gated community. The driveway going in will be directly into their bedroom. So you're talking about at least, 76 is what's permitted under the ordinance right now. 76 different homes with multiple cars, having lights come in and out at all hours of the day. Not to mention, and that's, mind you, on a public right of way that doesn't even meet your subdivision regulations right now. Colonial Club Drive, again, it is blacktop, 20 feet wide, no sidewalks. So you're also talking about putting more traffic on a street that has no pedestrian sidewalks, which is a safety concern, all the way down, and increasing the volume of people going back and forth, and increasing sewer problems that both Jefferson Parish and individuals within Harahan have already acknowledged are significant. I'm sure this is not new information to you. I'm sure I'm not surprising you with anything, that your sewer system right now is substandard. And it's certainly not going to take the additional weight that the commercial Blake project is put on, in addition to 76 or more houses that are proposed here. And so we're really looking for some concessions by the developer to widen Colonial Drive. There needs to be a better entrance exit. There's not enough time. If they put a gated community there, there's not going to be queuing. There's not a dedicated turning lane where residents are going to get stuck in traffic, then try to pass and get head on. It's a double yellow line along Colonial Drive. There really needs to be another entrance into this subdivision on the west side of the property. It seems like, and again, I don't know for sure, but it seems like from what I've been told, the Colonial Club Drive neighbors were sacrificed at the request of the subdivision on the other side of the project, because they didn't want a street over on their side in their backyards. Well, I mean, the problem is this is a busy street in front yards, not in the backyard. And so this is really up to the developers to make this happen. The pleas that the city needs the tax dollars, just that argument, is over with, and that was great for the 80s, but it doesn't work in the 2020s. We know better than that.
Pardon me, Madam Clerk, I hear the timer. Is the time up? You're muted. I'm sorry, I can't hear you, madam.
Yes, sir. 3 minutes is up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, hold on. All right, Miss Judy wants to speak. Let me get Miss Judy unmuted. Oh, you're on.
You got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you reread the date on that survey?
The date, September 24th, 2020.
Okay, because you read 12/24, and I was wondering how you do that. I'm against this ordinance. I mean, this is crazy that you can't put all of these cars on Colonial Club Drive. That street was never designed to take that kind of pressure. There is no underground drainage there. There's nothing there. There are no ditches even. Okay, we need to protect the people who are already here and make sure that this project is done correctly. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Clerk. I would like to concede my time for public hearing back to Mr. Schmidt to have my 3 minutes from David Trepanier, Jr.
Junior?
Is that something we do?
According to standard parliamentary
Right, but
procedure, that should be allowed to understand.
Right, but parliamentary procedure applies to the board, not to the guests, not to the citizens.
That's fine. We still have another matter I can finish up on, Dave.
Okay, thank
Thank you.
Okay, and I have an emailed comment from Maurizio Francesco on that I'm going to read.
Excuse me. I'll make a motion to give this guy 3 more minutes.
And we're going to go by Councilman.
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Wheeler for 3 more minutes for, I don't know who that was. Yeah, I guess Mr. Schmidt. All in
Justin.
favor?
Yes.
All
Yes.
in favor?
Yay.
Hey,
Yay.
Thank you, Councilman. I really don't have a whole lot more other than to answer your questions. I think, I mean, the main takeaways here is, what I see coming in as kind of late to the game is that there was an agreement with these developers, and I'm very familiar with these developers. I've worked on projects for the past 22 years around town. There's money to be made in here. I use the maxim, you don't need to hit home runs. Those of you that know baseball know that singles and doubles are the ones that win the championship. this can be a very nice subdivision, and it could be a very good benefit for the town of, for the city of Harahan, but we can't sacrifice, it's going to be a disaster with your infrastructure right now if you allow this to go without tempering it significantly. There has to be a significant entrance, and it was contemplated back when y'all initially did it. It was in there and then somebody gave it up. But it was there to have the main entrance off of Jefferson Highway initially. Now we're putting it, as Ms. Johnson said, on a street that has no sidewalks, no drainage ditches. It isn't wide enough to get around. I almost got clipped by a truck when I was measuring things this morning, measuring the width of it. It is literally from blade of grass to blade of grass, 20 feet at the most. That is not a safe way to drive. That's not where a child should be, on a bicycle with cars going back and forth. There are options to put this over on the other side, the main entrance, and to leave this as a very, an emergency entrance if you have to do that. It could be a service entrance or a turnaround, but you shouldn't have the majority of 76 homes going through one gate like they proposed. And that's another problem too. I think the city is being myopic in not requiring this developer to give them the plans for the next phase of this. This needs to be a complete master plan. They're doing this piecemeal because piecemeal, it looks a little bit. It's like how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. This development, you need to see the entire thing and be able to measure it and reduce any impacts on the existing neighborhoods all at the same time. Even if they're not going to build it now, we need to know how many lot sites are in that next piece. Are we going to have another amendment to the ordinances that say, okay, well, we're going to allow driveways now on the front, fronting on Colonial Club Drive? Are we going to allow more traffic and so forth? I think this is premature. I think this could be a development that the neighborhood can embrace. But I think given the questions about the infrastructure, especially the sewage system and the street system, there really needs to be you need to pump the brakes and step back from this thing. Let's let the engineers that are working on this tell us why there can't be a development, why there can't be streets elsewhere, and find some other alternatives to what's been planned right now. This just isn't, there's too many questions right now to pass this as it's been presented. Thank you.
Okay, and I have an emailed comment from Maurizio Francesco that he asked me to read. It's, dear Mayor and fellow council members, I would like to address ordinance number 2020-25 and 2020-26, but we're not there yet. As a citizen and as a Harahan zoning and planning board member, I want to express my support for voting yes and approve this preliminary development study. It's time this development moves forward. Please understand, I mean no disrespect to the current administration, council, Harahan Planning and Zoning, or all past councils, boards, or mayors. I am tired of hearing that previous ordinances and memorandum agreements are not legal. Memorandum agreements exist in public and private sectors and happen daily. Those agreements are contracts that can be held up or challenged in court. So I ask if anyone feels that current or past ordinances or memorandum agreements are not legal, then that person or persons can put up the money, hire an attorney, and challenge it. At this point in time, we have a developer who has the full right and authority to develop his property and is following all laws during its development. I have done my research on this matter. The Louisiana Supreme Court will side with the landowner if any further delay or obstruction interferes with their benefits or enjoyment their property. There is case law dated back as far as 1920, Smith versus the City of Shreveport. The Louisiana Supreme Court sided with the landowner, and that happened on many cases as the court set precedence in siding with the landowner. Friends of mine who own property around there and fellow citizens call me and ask me what is going on, if I can share my insights and conversations about the development. Most of them are happy that these lots will be large and not cookie-cut homes with lots 50 by 100 deep. If this administration and current city council is truly serious in moving this city forward, then I would recommend overruling the Harahan Planning and Zoning Board 5-4 down vote and allow this preliminary study move forward. Delay tactics cost the developer money and cost the city well-needed tax revenue. And that looks,
Who is that, please? Who is that statement from? I'm sorry, I missed it, Nicole.
that was Maurizio Francescon.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyone else? Any more hands? Okay, public hearing is now closed.
Nicole, can I speak?
Oh, I'm sorry. I messed up.
You have one more if the council approves.
Is that you, Dane?
Yeah,
No, it's Sue Benton.
okay.
A couple of things. I agree with everything that the attorney said. And, I've said from the beginning, there needs to be a total plan approved all at one time. This piecemeal, it's like walking on quicksand. I can't tell you how many plans I've seen. Now I see a sign that says we want 100 homes when it was supposed to be 75 homes. What did we get a new drainage plan with this these additional homes being added? I've never seen the real drainage plan, and I don't think one has really been done. I feel like the city is rolling over for this developer at the expense of the citizens on Colonial. We've lived here for 30 plus years, most of us, and it's totally changing our environment. And I just feel like more consideration should be given to us. The street can't handle the traffic, period. And the sewer system, I know, is past capacity. So those are big issues. And the drainage plan, I want to see a good drainage plan. None has been provided. So I hope you'll think about the citizens when you vote tonight. Thank you.
Okay, and Dane Doucette, let me unmute him. He wants to speak.
Nicole, I agree with Mr. Schmidt, and I agree with what Sue Benton just said, that I think so much more needs to be done other than just come in and say, I agree with the 8 lots in the front that a number of councilmen voted for. And it was commercial, adjacent, or abutting Colonial. And let's swap that for something else. I get that. But what I don't get is that 6 more and Ed Suffren, Wayne Cody, Jack Capella, and Danny McCarron have always said, we're building houses all the way down Colonial. And recently, they wanted to act like they were being benevolent and said, you know what? We don't want 75 feet along Colonial anymore. We want to give you 150 feet. Well, that's a joke. They only want to give 150 feet for one reason. They want to build houses all the way down Colonial. And 1777 states that you can't do that. So I hope that everyone looks at 1777 real good. And it says the buffer will be provided by establishing a new residential rear lot line, which would average 75 feet of the existing property line. The buffer area will be utilized for additional drainage ponds, storm storage, walking paths, and public uses where applicable. It will not contain rear driveways with access on the Colonial Club Drive. A buffer on Glenwood side of the proposed residential area will also be provided by establishing a new residential rear lot line, which would be 35 feet. The new property line will be defined by a uniform wall surrounding the property. The wall will be made of high quality materials such as masonry and cannot be made of wood, vinyl, or chain link. So Mr. Schmidt said a lot of really important things, and so did Sue Benton. However, my thing is that from the very beginning, if you look at the master plan that Steve Villavasso prepared, Steve Villavasso said, and he provided the master plan. I think all of you have it. And it showed a 75-foot buffer all the way down Colonial. That was the intent. That's what was meant. And that's what should be. And anything other than that, since they got their 15 acres of commercial C1 in the front, they would have given up anything to get the commercial in the front. Now they say the commercial is not worth anything. They can't give it away. I'll take it. And whatever I get for the property, I'll donate to the city. Thank you.
All right, Nicole, you're mute. Okay. Any other hands, Nicole?
Yep, got it. Right. Yeah, it was just public comment on the ordinance. So, council,
Okay, that is- any other hands?
nope, no other hands.
Okay, public hearing is now closed and we'll go into council discussion. Okay, Councilman Asbill.
So I intend to, so I got a request from the developer owner to defer this ordinance. So I'm going to do that, but I got to address a couple things that I heard first, just because they can't go on being said when they're just not true. First, I want to address a concern that Mr. Maurizio had regarding the MOU. And yes, MOUs are used in the private world all the time, and he's correct, they are. However, when it comes to council action, an MOU who's signed by a mayor unilaterally cannot overturn an ordinance that was passed by a city council. So that's where the distinction is there. Although the MOU, yes, I mean, we should honor it as much as we can, perhaps, but it is not legally binding to this council, because to overturn council action, in this case 1777, we'd have to have further council action to overturn that. And then a couple of things that Ms. Benton said, that the city's kind of rolling over to give this developer whatever they want. And unfortunately, that's simply not true either. The only thing this city has done on this property is to ratify a decision that the previous council, which she served on, had made. So that council agreed to those 8 lots up front, and that's the only thing we've done on this property at all. And you know, just to say that there haven't been traffic studies, there haven't been drainage studies, and all this other stuff, there have been. In fact, I sent an email today requesting them, and they were done back in 2019 and 2018 by Design Development Group and another firm. So, you know, if you want those things, that's great. If you haven't seen them, that's fine too. But don't say they don't exist, because they do. Come into City Hall and get a copy of them so you can review them before you say that. That's all I have. If there's no other discussion, I'll have a motion to defer, but I'll withhold that motion until there's any other discussion.
Any other council discussion? Councilman Chatelain?
I was heavily involved in 1777. 1777 states no houses on Colonial Club Drive. 1777 states no more than 76 houses in the 40 acres. The master plan that went with 1777 had 2 exits on the Colonial Club Drive. Harahan Oaks has probably 130 houses, 1 exit on the Colonial Club Drive. I don't see a problem. I live there, drive past it numerous times a day. Don't see a problem with them coming out on the Colonial Club Drive. 2 doors down from me, my neighbors have a house. Their bedroom window, drive down 7th Street, you're going straight into their bedroom. They've never complained, never once complained about it. There has to be an exit entrance into the subdivision. I'm very aware what 1777 says. I'll follow the rules. There's a motion on the floor to defer this ordinance here, and I'll second it. And I'll have discussions with anyone who would like to have discussions whenever they'd like to have a discussion. Thank you.
Any other council discussion?
Mr. Tom, you're muted.
Mr. Tom?
Thank you, Jason. I have comments, but if we're deferring, I'm assuming the vote to defer will pass, so I'll defer my comments until it comes up again at another council meeting.
Okay, so Councilman Johnson, anything? Any
Ready to
comment?
defer.
Councilman Willie, you good?
Good.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to defer, second by Councilman Johnston. I'm second by Councilman Chatelain. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance 2020-25 is deferred to the regularly scheduled January meeting.
Proposed ordinance number 2020-26. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill and seconded by Councilman. Who would like to second this one?
Kerry Tucker, you just unmute.
I'll take it. I'm sorry.
An ordinance approving the preliminary re-subdivision plat of lot A2B 1A, Soniat or Chapatoulas Plantation subdivision, City of Harahan, Parish of Jefferson, State of Louisiana, and the creation of private streets, drainage, sewer, utility, and other servitudes into lots 1 through 34, Colonial Place, Phase 2, Dakota Lane and McCarran Avenue, which are private streets, Colonial Place Phase 2, and Lot A2B 1B, Soniat or Chapatoulas Plantation, all pursuant to a plan made by Ronald Clement, PLS, dated October 1st, 2020.
Okay, public hearing is now open.
Okay, let me, all right, Danny, you there?
Yeah, hey guys, let me try to turn my video on. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see me?
Nicole, will we be able to turn this video on, or
I mean, we usually don't, but if you want to, we can.
it's up to you, it doesn't matter?
Yeah, I'd prefer it. I got to watch my own mouth move.
All right,
Okay.
go ahead. You there, huh? There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Good evening. My name is Danny McCarran. I'm the owner developer representative of JW Colonial. This application was filed on the city or with the city on October 1st, 2020, and has now been pending for 11 weeks. This 34 lot parcel is subject to the limited residential development restrictions of the current development agreement. It is within the 40 acre parcel. As you can see, there are no lots fronting along Colonial. Likewise, a buffer of more than 75 foot is provided along Colonial Club Drive. Additionally, these 34 lots will count against the permitted maximum of 76 homes within the 40 acres. This request is for preliminary plat approval only. Again, all minimum code requirements are satisfied and all of the same city protections are already built into the ordinance. This re-subdivision will be subject to an additional conditional plat approval. Your preliminary approval tonight will permit our engineers to move forward with detailed plans for streets, utilities, and other infrastructure construction design. These detailed plans will be subject to additional review by both the outside city engineer, as city personnel, planning and zoning, and this council. I believe this ordinance did have a unanimous yay vote at the planning and zoning. The approval of these new 34 lots will result in an economic development and new tax revenues for the city. It will attract high quality homeowners, which shall only serve to strengthen the Harahan community. And we do respectfully request your approval. That's my reading off of something answers. And now I'll go into I'll try to address the comments I assume that were made that on lot 6 that would refer to this as well. And I want to first start by saying, look, and I'm really speaking to those folks on Colonial. Clearly at this point, they've now determined to have an attorney involved, and I get it. And I want to say I truly understand. I can appreciate your feelings. I think if I grew up or lived or owned a property across from a country club, I would want it to remain a country club. Of course I would. If I had property facing wide open green space, I would of course want to remain wide open green space. But Harahan does not consist of simply the homes on Colonial Club. And that indeed is private land across the street. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I still want to be a good neighbor. I've said that every time. I continue and still want to be a good neighbor. I'm going to address a few of the points that were brought up. Number one, drainage. Drainage has indeed been addressed. A very high dollar drainage plan has been performed prior to me boarding in, which I believe it's at City Hall. With regarding the sewer, I want to point out that once this, look, anybody can do this math. You can follow along at home. If you look at the number of homes that are being introduced into the subdivision, and I'm not just speaking of the 34, I'm speaking of when fully developed, you're going to realize an impact in number of homes to Harahan of approximately 1.8 to 2.3%. And while yes, Harahan does have some sewer issues, we're not talking about adding 25, 30, we're talking about 1.8 to 2.3% when fully developed, at which point I believe is going to be quite a few years from now. Furthermore, Harahan recently took the liberty to address that situation by introducing and passing a sewer impact fee, and to where every home on this new subdivision, as well as any other home built or renovated in Harahan, is going to recognize sewer impact fees to aid in just that. Should it have been done many, many years ago? Probably. But here you go. It's here now, before the first house is done. If you can, again, you can do that math, you can add up those homes out there, and I think you're going to recognize that Harahan's going to sewer impact fees between $500,000 and $1 million on that alone. Regarding the safety of the streets and people walking and the street, I do want to point out, if you look at even the preliminary plan in there, it does call it does call for us to install a sidewalk. Actually an oversized sidewalk running along the Colonial properties up to the entrance of this. I even want to address the width of the street. First off, I've come to find out that is not a Harahan street. Colonial is a Jefferson Parish street.
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion for an additional 3 minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Asbill, second by Councilman Chatelain. Give it just Mr. McCarron 3 more minutes. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
5 nays. Mr. McCarron, continue.
Thank y'all, guys. Not only am I not against widening it, I've already reached out to Jefferson Parish to understand, would they be opposed to widening? Would they consider widening it? And again, my guess is that those same folks on the other side of Colonial probably aren't too keen about widening it on their side. Fine, I'll take it on my side. I've already reached out to Jefferson Parish. I've even offered to have some cost sharing on that. Regarding though the width of it and the traffic, there is, as Councilman Chatelain said, Harahan Oaks is a that's on Colonial that has over 130 homes coming in and out of one entrance. I used to live there. I can never attest to a traffic backup at Harahan Oaks as long as I've lived there or since I've lived there. It's just not a real thing. I know that when people say it with certain inflections, it can sound big. When you say, oh, we can't, 76 more homes, it's gonna be a lot. And it feels like it when you hear but facts are facts. Harahan Oaks, right up the road, has 130 homes coming out of one entrance on the exact same road we're talking about. I do want to address also, I can't remember who made a comment that there's no underground drainage on that street. There is indeed underground drainage on the street. I'm happy to meet whoever that is on site and show them exactly where that drainage is. And regarding the comment, I believe Mr. Schmidt made about this being premature, boy, if there's one thing I have to respectfully disagree with, this ain't premature. I attended the first meeting just as a citizen. over, gosh, it must have been 7, 8 years ago, sitting in the Harahan gym, just as a citizen, listening to the developers at the time, followed it the whole way. If it's anything, it might be a lot of things. It's not premature. It's long overdue. I believe the longer a development like this sits, gaining debt, what you end up with is a less enticing product, not a better product. Yeah, and that's it. And I guess I should formally, I know Dane offered to take the land up front at no cost for free and turn around and donate those proceeds back to the city. I'll respectfully decline the offer, but I do appreciate the offer of $0. And that's it, guys. I appreciate it. I'm happy to still address anything. And for whatever it's worth, I realize that I don't have any say on how long someone gets to speak, but to the degree I want everybody to know, I wished even the other sides didn't have these time limitations, because I'd prefer to hear everyone's comments on them. Anyway, thank you very much. I'll mute myself.
Karen, just got one question for you.
Yeah.
Another concern of people is the sewer part. What is the capabilities of the sewer tying into? Can you delve into that?
Sure. Yeah. So the sewer of the 34 lots, a couple things there. One is we have, as JW Colonial, and then there is a brand new, completely paid for by the developer lift station located at approximately the corner of Colonial and Jefferson Highway that is sitting there waiting on capacity, waiting on this project to start. So that part is in. It's tied in under. It hits Wilson. I believe Wilson is currently, and I'll allow Council Peterson to speak to that, but I did see it, that it was released for bid. So I presume that's getting done. And look, Councilman Johnston, that is where the, I think those impact fees, I think y'all were wise. I think I spoke at it at the time. Do I feel a little slighted that probably the first 10 homes that are built are going to be absorbed impact fee by me? Okay. But, I think that $500,000 to $1 million on that is going to go a long way. And I'm willing to do whatever else I can there. And again, I want to point out, we're only talking about approximately a 2% increase in homes to Harahan's current capacity.
Thank you.
And I guess while we're saying that, Craig, I've said this before, so I'll say it again, just to underline any, to make sure there's no loose ends. I've offered it before. I'm still offering it. Should the city, for some reason, decide that they do not want this development on the city's sewer system, I've said it before, I'll repeat it again. I'm not against building my own plant on site. A temporary treatment plant. These things are not as intrusive as one may believe. The nicest subdivision, in my opinion, in Baton Rouge, Country Club of Baton Rouge, has an on-site plant. Nearly every subdivision on the North Shore has them. I've gone and personally looked at 3 of them. This is all due diligence I did before getting into the project. I've been into 3 of them in Baton Rouge to understand how they work. Do they smell? How big they are? And we're really talking about something that sits on a piece of property that's approximately, I believe it's 40 foot by 80 foot at ground level. Everything's underground other than the blower. It's and with the pond, the stormwater detention area, I've already met with is it DEP regarding that property. Would that make for a good exit? And it would indeed. All that said, Craig, I just say all that to say, I'm still willing to do that. However, I do think y'all addressed it when y'all put the impact fees,
Okay, any other council discussion?
Well, it's still on comment.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Justin Schmidt wanted to speak. Was Danny finished? I accidentally muted him.
We're still on public comment, correct?
Public comment?
All right, Justin Schmidt would like to speak.
Thank you. I don't want to address Mr. McCarron directly, but I will say this, as I spoke to his attorney on Friday, I've been doing this long enough and doing it on the developer side long enough to know that this development is going to happen. And I've
made that clear to my clients. There will be a development, there will be houses built, there will be a lot of houses built. I think, as I said earlier, we were just asking to pump the brakes here and let everyone get a chance to be comfortable with what's going on and what we're looking at. And I think the deferral on the first one, the first ordinance, hopefully that will lead to a deferral on this one, as I see them as a package deal. Perhaps y'all don't, but I think that'll give us the time to earnestly work together and sit down and figure some things out. You know, as I explained to Mr. McKernan's attorney, North Carolina, I love being in the mountains of North Carolina around the Highlands and Cashers area, because you can drive down a country road filled with trees and drive behind, pull behind a hedge, and there's a 300 home subdivision there that you never knew existed. I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen here, but there are things that can be done to the entrance, and there are things that can be done, like with the fencing, that can remediate or minimize some of the impact that will come here. And I think that's really what I think the neighbors want to look at. They want to just make sure that there are some plans. And in all honesty, I think they would like, a commitment, because there was a commitment before. And I'm, back to something Mr. Francesca said, y'all can't see it because you don't have the cameras on, but I took that MOU and I took a red pen and a blue pen, and it's like, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. It's like, here we have, owners shall file an application, and then in blue, as soon as reasonable. The owner shall not proceed until reasonable effort has been made. It's like, yeah, there's a bunch of prohibitions in here, but owner and his successors shall, only to the extent it's economically feasible. That's development, and I get it. I think we're just looking for some reasonable concessions that can give some peace of mind to these neighbors that have been living here. And yes, they're living here, but there are some legitimate concerns. Taking over a whole golf course and building things on it, it is going to create stormwater issues. There's no doubt about it. You are putting concrete where there once was grass. By
Additional
definition,
3 minutes for Mr. Schmidt.
there will be issues.
Second.
So I don't need to belabor the point. I want to express my and my client's willingness to work, with Ms. McKernan, his attorney. In fact, his attorney has been referring clients to me for 20 years, and he calls me when he's got issues. So this is not an issue where I don't think there can be some meaningful discussion and cooperation getting here. We just need a little bit more time. And so I'd hope that the council will consider deferring this particular docket as they did with the 2025. Thank you.
Okay, are we going to close? Public hearing is now closed.
Wait, we have,
Oh,
yeah, Miss Judy
I'm
Johnson.
sorry, Miss Judy, I can't see the hand.
And you said.
Back when, in 2014, we had a town hall meeting at the gym for this. I think we need another one. We have 19 people watching this meeting. Not everybody can do this on computer. We need to get this plan and all the plans that they say are at City Hall out there for people to look at and see. Maybe they'll be more attainable to do this if they saw the plans themselves. Couldn't y'all schedule one in January sometime? I mean, we can do the spacing at the gym with no problem. Got an answer for?
I would have no objection to it.
I'd like to answer, Miss Judy. We've been dealing with this since 2014. You just said it. The people who were involved have spoke their piece, said what they had to say. I think everybody knows where everybody stands on different issues, and I believe we're addressing a lot of them. And I don't feel it's time. I mean, I think if we follow 1777, we move forward. But I appreciate your comment.
Okay, we have Dane Doucette. Let me unmute him.
100% about following 1777, stepping back a little bit, and let's see what's going to happen. I think if you read 1777, there's some flaws in it, and there's some really strong teeth in it. And the teeth in it, in my opinion, is that there shall be a buffer and a setback of open space on Colonial Club Drive. The buffer will be provided by establishing a new residential rear lot line, which would average 75 feet of the existing property line. I mean, it's just plain as day, guys. The buffer area will be utilized for additional drainage ponds, storm storage, walking paths, which I can picture a meandering walking path connecting from the 8 lots in the front and meandering all the way through back to Club Drive. And it says in public uses where applicable, it will not contain rear driveways with access on the Colonial Club Drive. So, let's not go on the Glenwood side. The Glenwood side, they have a 35-foot buffer, and no one's saying, oh, let's get rid of that 35-foot buffer. But all of a sudden, certain people are saying, let's get rid of the 75-foot buffer on Colonial. And some people are going to say, no, they're not saying that. They just want 6 lots. They just want 6 lots, and they want 34 lots. But what I heard the other night, Mr. Ducote said, is that I would like a 150-foot buffer instead of a 75-foot buffer. Now, Mr. Ducote is not the most wonderful, benevolent person in the world. He's not giving up another 75 feet because he's Mr. Wonderful. He's given up another 75 feet. And I never said Danny McCarron. I think Danny McCarron's a fine young man. But Mr. Ducote and Danny McCarron want another 75 feet. They're going to give up 150 feet. Mr. Benevolent, all the way down Colonial. Why? Because the first 8 lots are 150 feet deep, the next 6 lots are 150 feet deep, and the next 17 lots are 150 feet deep. And they know if we don't get it today, we're going to get it one day. They know exactly what they're doing. And I agree with Mr. Schmidt. We need to sit back and watch what happens.
All right, we have David Trepanier Jr.
Actually, it's Sue Benton again. I guess I would just like to ask just say to the developer, he has a blank slate. It's a huge piece of property. I just don't understand why he has to put that driveway right there and why he wants to have all that traffic dumped onto our street. I just feel like that we should be given some consideration. It's a blank slate. You could easily put an entrance over off of Jefferson Highway. And what Dane said about the 150 feet is so true, because when they took the land for the 9 houses at the front of Colonial, we moved the borders or the boundaries of the property to make up for that for the owner. So yeah, Mr. Ducote's not giving us an extra 75 feet without taking it from somewhere else. That's not his plan. I just implore the developer to please consider the residents who've, we've lived in these homes, we've renovated them, we've raised our families here. It's going to change it completely, and it's not necessary. You can put an entrance off of Jefferson Highway. I just, you said you want to be a good neighbor. Talk to us, and we know it's going to be developed. We're not fighting that it's that it can't be developed. We just want it done in a way that it least impacts us, and we should be considered because we've been here the longest, and we bought these properties not ever thinking that this was going to happen, which it has, and we have to deal with it. But work with us and make it something more palatable to us. Thank you.
Oh.
Go, you're on mute.
Sorry, I think that's everyone. I don't see any more hands raised.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. Council discussion? Councilman Chapman?
Guys, I believe Miss Judy said 19 people are watching this meeting. If I had to guess, all 19 of them have read 1777. 1777 states no more than 76 homes on the 40 acres. 1777 states no houses facing Colonial Club Drive. The plat plan that went with 1777 had a 75-foot buffer and I believe a 35-foot buffer on Glenwood side. 75 on Colonial, 35-foot buffer on Glenwood side. I believe we're following 1777. If they want to give a 150-foot buffer on Colonial Club side, so be. They can't come back unless they get the whole council to agree. I don't plan on going anywhere. As long as I'm involved, I'm going to vote no for houses on Colonial Club Drive. I think we have something with 1777. I worked on 1777 for a long time. And most of y'all know that. I feel confident with the developer we have. People say, let's hold up, let's hold up. I'm looking at 1777. It was signed in September of 2014. I mean, we've been working on this all that time. No one's ever stopped. You had 3 different administrations. I believe all 3 administrations worked on this Colonial Country Club project. I'm ready to move forward with the lots inside Colonial Country Club. Thank you.
Anybody else? Because I have some comments. Okay. Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead, Councilman Asbill.
Okay, just a few things I want to point out to the council. First of all, this is preliminary approval. And I wanted to point out that in the 3rd whereas paragraph and the section 1 and a couple of other sections, and also on the second page of the plat plan, the developer and the developer's attorney did include the same language that we asked them to include on the 8 lots that we approved up front. Not only did they include that language substituting all the lots for the original lots in 1777 to make sure that 1777 does not become obsolete, they also included language in there that would prohibit them from re-subdividing these 34 lots into smaller lots. So they're stuck on these 34 lots if we approve this today. Then I want to address a couple of other things. Look, that was said in the public. First of all is the traffic. And I think the point has been made about traffic, you know, in comparison to Harahan Oaks. But I think I've got another comparison is at one time, that country club was a bustling country club. People were in and out of there on a daily basis throughout the day. There was no complaints of traffic then. None whatsoever that I recall. And the other thing I want to say is it goes to Mr. Doucette's and Mr. Schmidt's points regarding the average of 75 feet. And it does say in the development agreement, if you look closely, it says an average. So in theory, you know, they could develop half of those lots at 0 feet and the other half at 150 feet. So I mean, and look, I don't think for one second that if a developer wants to come in and exceed the expectations or the requirements, that we make them go back down. For example, if Councilman Chatelain was developing a lot and he's required to do a 6-foot side yard, but he wanted to do a 20-foot side yard, we can't go to him and say, oh no, you have to do 6. I think that would be silly to do. And I think it's silly to make them go down to 75 here. But when it comes to time that they want to build on Colonial, we've got to hold their feet to the fire and say, sorry, you wasted that extra 75. I think that's what we've got to do here. And, you know, I just want to say it again. This is preliminary approval. They're coming back. I do have a question for the developer. Madam Clerk, if we can ask him to come back up. Is he still here?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me, Jay.
Yeah, I hear you. Thanks, Danny. So I'm looking on the drawing here on the Glenwood side. When it comes for conditional approval, are we going to be showing a portion of a wall there or something on the Glenwood side like is required in 1777?
Yes, sir. Yep. No, we're
Okay.
we're going to show not only that, but we're going to show that setback. And then I guess just because we're talking about Glenwood, I'll even bring up, we've actually also been in touch. I don't know if anybody from Glenwood is in the audience, but in case they are, almost immediately reached out to Jefferson Parish and Mr. Bonanno about getting them back on the, I believe before this last election, they had talked about whether it be to close in that back ditch or to widen it. But in that discussion, they expressed to us that some of the things they may want to do in the future may include even a wider servitude than what we had. And I just wanted to say that we're open to that if it makes drainage better, if it makes things better. So on that Glenwood side, yes, we will.
Okay. And on your entrance, that's on Colonial Club Drive. I mean, are you willing to work with the neighbors when you come with your next drawing? Are you willing to work with the neighbors on sweeping that more or setting it back a little bit? And I know we've talked about it. I just want you to say it because I think the public needs to hear that you are, right? Sure.
I absolutely am. Not only am I willing, I actually, before finding out that Mr. Trepanier, and I forget his neighbor's name.
Dr. Shaw.
To the left. Yeah, Dr. Shaw. I actually went and personally knocked on both of their doors, gosh, probably a week after the planning and zoning meeting, because they both wanted to talk to me about that. I believe Mr. Trepanier wasn't home. I saw his daughter there, asked her to have him call me, and had reached out to him via phone call. And to the point I'm making there is not only am I now willing, I'm not only simply willing because I'm getting a tongue lashing. I was already willing. I'm still willing. At some point, it's too far down the line, but yes, absolutely. If that's sweeping that, doesn't mean we're going to make everybody happy. Ultimately, those lights are going to turn, and there's only so much you can do. But yes, to answer that question, I certainly am.
Good. Thank you. No further comments from me. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Buddy.
I agree that we need to proceed in accordance with 1777 unless we amend it. And I know there's been some efforts by the developer, good faith efforts by the developer in the city to do that. And they were not successful in terms of amending the development agreement and coming to an agreement on this moving forward. So the development agreement as it stands today, in 3B, talks about 40 acres to be determined. It's never been done. It's a moving target. Where's the 40 acres? So, and it's not up to the developer to determine that, and it's not up to the city to determine that. It needs to be determined. So the 40 acres determines the development on Colonial. It's all linked. So it's an ambiguity that needs to be resolved in order to comply with the development agreement. And I'd suggest we do it before we approve any plans to build lots. Moving along. 5C talks about no lots on Colonial. Now, going back to the previous ordinance, which has been deferred, developers taking it upon themselves to say that those lots in the ordinance that we deferred are not part of the 40 acres. It's not their sole call to determine that. If it's part of 40 acres, then you can't build houses on Colonial there. Moving along. 5D1 talks about a buffer. The buffer will be provided by establishing a new residential rear lot line, which would average 75 feet inside of the existing property line. That line needs to be established, needs to be put on this surveyor's plan, because it's a moving target. It's housekeeping. These are issues that should be addressed in terms of us understanding what this development is going to look like. And again, who establishes that lot? First of all, it needs to be established, period, needs to be done. And there needs to be a joint agreement. And I agree with Councilman Asbill, it's an average. But if we're going to vote on this development, we need to see it, and it needs to be established, meaning it needs to be drawn in to the plan and established with the green space, sidewalks, the things that the development agreement discusses. 5D2 talks about the buffer being utilized for the additional drainage, storm storage, walking paths. Again, these things should be disclosed on a plan. What is it going to look like when houses are built? Back to the 150-foot setback that we're looking at right now. The development agreement requires 75 feet. It'll never, if it's plotted that way, it'll more than likely never be developed in the future because they won't be deep enough. It's conceivable that a future council could let you build wide lots, but only 75 feet deep. It's conceivable. And what we have right now with a proposed 150-foot setback, it's obvious, well, in my opinion, and I'm gonna repeat what someone else has said tonight, is the developer is going to come back later to put lots fronting on Colonial. And if this council approves this, our failure to housekeep and define that buffer on Colonial will ultimately result in the potential of lots being built on Colonial. If this council wants to build lots on Colonial, once that is an ultimate outcome or a potential outcome, well, let's just amend 1777 and remove the prohibition of lots on Colonial instead of kicking that can down the road. If we go with the 150 now and 1777 is upheld by future councils, that's going to leave the owner with a strip of property behind the 75-foot average buffer, which will average 75 feet by 850 feet. It's a pretty odd size lot. It'll have ingress and egress from both ends. So if the council really believes that 75-foot buffer is going to be a reality in perpetuity, that's going to leave the developer with an 850-foot long, 75-foot deep lot with the potential of ingressing and egressing from two side streets, meaning you could have a 425-foot lot, 75 feet wide. 1777 requires the creation of a buffer. And before we get into the interior design, I think the exterior property line buffer should be documented, agreed upon, incorporated into the plan. Again, the 35-foot setback on Glenwood in paragraph, what is it, 5E, is not shown on this plan. It should be, it's required by the development agreement. Unless we're going to amend the development agreement, it ought to be on this plan. Back to Councilman Asbill's comment, and this is a question, a recurring question in my mind, and to Mr. McCarron. This is only a preliminary approval, but I'm gonna put to everybody that once this council gives preliminary approval for this, if the developer comes back with streets and sewerage and meets the other requirements of the Harahan Building Code, the council cannot refuse the next phase and the phase after that. So this is approval effectively for what's proposed today. The council will have no basis to prevent the construction of this so long as the developer puts forth a plan in accordance with the best business building practices and it meets the city's code. So it's really final approval And the only way it doesn't become final is if the developer fails to do what a developer has to do. There's also in paragraph E, I'm sorry, a discussion about a uniform wall, a high quality. They use the example of masonry wall surrounding the property. It's the entire property. I don't see it on here. And you don't have to wait.
Excuse me, Mr. Buddy.
Yes.
Excuse me 1 second. If you're gonna read that, read the whole thing where it says the wall must be made of high quality material such as masonry, cannot be made of wood, vinyl, or chain link.
Councilman, I agree 100%.
Let's just not say masonry.
No, I said such as, I thought, but you're correct.
But
my point is, Councilman, it's not shown on the drawing. Where's the wall going to be? And what's it going to be made out of? I don't want to say what it's going to be made. That's not for us to do it. It's for us to consider whether the proposed wall in the proposed location complies with the development agreement.
I agree.
It needs to be made out of. So those things are lacking. So what we're doing here again, this council is doing what previous councils have done, is we're taking a piecemeal approach to a project in matters where simply live with the document, comply with these issues, and then propose your lots. So for those reasons, I'm going to vote no. I'm going to recommend that everybody else vote no. And of course, each councilman's going to make up their own mind for their own reasons after consideration. Paragraph 6A. I haven't seen a report from the city's engineer saying this drainage plan is sufficient. And 1777 says we need that. We need their engineer and our engineer to say this drainage plan is sufficient. Now, I've got serious questions about the drainage plan. The proposed lots on Colonial, the 6 additional lots, I think it is, that we have deferred are on property that was originally envisioned to be part of the detention pond. I haven't seen the drainage plan. I don't know if anybody else has, but I am under the impression that the city engineer hasn't approved the final drainage plan. That's a big deal. Paragraph 6B says that property rights will be established, as I understand 6B, meaning that the commercial property owner is going to be responsible for maintaining the drainage pond, the detention pond. I haven't seen that. I don't know if it exists. And that there's going to be perpetual drainage servitudes. I don't see a perpetual drainage servitudes on these plans that we're getting ready to approve. And 9F talks about developing plans for maintenance of the stormwater detention. I haven't seen a plan to maintain that in perpetuity. So again, we have an agreement, and I'll agree with Maurizio. This is a binding agreement. 1777 is a binding agreement, and the parties have obligations. So if the parties perform their obligations, the developer gets to develop. I agree also this property will be developed. I think it ought to be developed in accordance with 1777. Those are just some of the issues that I reviewed this afternoon. So I'll give others the opportunity to comment. Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna take it from here. Maybe it's just I always assumed, Mr. Tommy, like you were saying, the 40 acres, I always assumed, or I was told that it was commercial, then it was the 40, then it was whatever after that. And that was supposed to be the 40. That's what I was always told. Whether it was set in stone or not, I can't 100% agree with that or not. Secondly, as far as the entrance goes, I know it's been brought up before about, well, recently, about coming in and leaving from Colonial Club Drive. But I know as far as I've been counsel, I don't know what it was beforehand, but since I've been counsel, every time we have talked to the developers, it was always an entrance and exit on Colonial. It was never about Jefferson Highway. I never heard anything about Jefferson Highway. It was always Colonial, and that's been 6 years. I've been on the board, and throughout all that time, it's been that way. Third, at this last zoning meeting, you have people on both sides of the spectrum on this whole Colonial thing. And for this ordinance itself, it was unanimous to approve it. I mean, it says a lot right there when you have people that are on both sides of the spectrum and they all agree that it should be approved. Lastly, about the concrete wall, I'm looking a little closer at the sketch that's on here, a plat, I don't know what you call it. But if you look close to the entrance, they have a little arrow pointing at a double line, and it says concrete, and in parentheses, it says typical. So I don't know, I'm assuming that's the wall, because it goes all the way, the whole property. That's all. I don't mind deferring, because I know they have a lot of questions and stuff like that, but that's just my assumption, seeing that with the zoning board's, opinion. That's all.
Councilman Wheeler, would you like to say something?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so I have I'd like to see if you guys, I know you guys brought up a lot of questions and a lot of important points. I don't know if it's totally up to you guys, but Danny McCarron would like to speak back on some of the points that were brought up. I don't normally like doing this, but this is such a topic of interest and very important. And it's up to you guys.
I have no problem.
I don't think we should, because then that opens the floodgates for everybody else to come speak in. I don't want to set that precedent, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Well, then let's call. You want to call for the vote?
Proceed with the vote.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So this is an ordinance proposed by Councilman Asbill, seconded by Councilman Wheeler. It's proposed ordinance 2020-26. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. 4 yeas. All opposed?
Nay.
So 4 yeas, 1 nay. Ordinance passes. Madam Clerk.
All right, proposed ordinance number 2020-27. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler and seconded by Councilman. This is the 2021 budget. Who would like to second this one?
Councilman Johnson, do you want to second that? No?
Sure.
All right, Councilman Johnson will second.
Johnson, all right. Is an ordinance adopting the annual budget of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2021 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Anyone, Nicole?
Mayor, sorry, I muted myself. This is the ordinance that we're not voting on tonight. This is the proposed budget that we're going to be talking about we'll adopt at the 28th meeting, and will be taken up in discussion on the budget hearing on the 22nd.
Okay.
I think Nicole, the Madam Clerk, just wanted to put it on the agenda so people that would see it would realize it would be coming up on the 28th.
Okay.
Yep.
Madam Clerk, that is correct, right?
Correct.
Yes.
So we won't have the vote. We don't have to open for public hearing. We just want to make sure that we inform everyone that will be this will be on the agenda coming up on December 28th, correct, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next.
Wait, so are y'all gonna defer it or?
Yep, move to defer.
Okay, motion by Councilman Asbill, second by Councilman Wheeler to defer. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Motion is deferred. The ordinance is deferred. Okay. All right, Madam Clerk, ordinances for introduction.
Ordinances for introduction, proposed ordinance number 2020-28. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill. An ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances by the addition of Article 2, fire watch and standby details, Section 34-10 through 34-16, 34, fire prevention and protection to set policies for fire watch and associated pay rates and fees for fire watch service. And proposed ordinance number 2020-29. The following ordinance is proposed by Councilman Asbill. An ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances by the addition of Article 9, false alarms, Section 58 through 90 through 58 through 99 to Chapter 58, nuisances, to declare repeated false fire and/or emergency alarms nuisances and to set penalties for repeated false alarms. Old business. Removal and temporary appointment of city magistrate.
We would like to, we have a deferral on this.
Move to defer.
Councilman Asbill moves to defer.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Who seconded that?
Councilman Johnson. Do we need to open that to a vote before we finalize open it to the public before we finalize the vote? City Attorney? All right, so let's open that to a public hearing before we finalize this vote. Anyone like to speak on removal and temporary appointment of a city magistrate? Any hands, Madam Clerk?
No, sir. No hands.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. Now we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill, second by Councilman Johnston to defer. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Okay.
Is that 5 yeas, 0 nays? Old business is deferred. Okay, new business.
New business number 1, Todd Tunion, Finance Director, monthly financials with budget to actual comparisons.
Hello, this is Todd. Nicole, maybe if you can fix my video, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Just a couple thoughts. We wanted to provide an update that the finance team, there we go, that the finance team has been impacted by the City Hall closure as well as COVID-19. So we continue to pay the bills and do the work that we need to, but we have been impacted, by the closure of City Hall. A couple of comments on the financials, actual to budget. The city's fortunate in that we continue to see sales tax revenues to be higher than what we forecasted and higher than budget. Not by huge dollars, but the actual amounts being greater than budget and in line with the amounts that we saw pre-COVID. So that's good news for the city on the revenue side. We do continue to forecast for the 2020 year that we will see an increase in net assets in the general fund and the city's financial statements. So we continue to see that, and we're working on closing out the year at December 31st over the next few weeks and months. We've had initial planning conversations with the city's external auditors, provided limited documentation to them to date, but working on the schedule and timing for the audit in the 2021 year. 2 other comments. The city currently is receiving the bulk of the property tax receipts or property tax payments that the City Hall staff are working on processing, keeping the team active in that area. And then lastly, as the council members mentioned just a few minutes ago, we're scheduled for the budget hearing, so I believe next week or the next week or two, to approve the 2021 budget before the end of the calendar year. So with that, I'll open the floor to any questions that the council members or the mayor may have. We'd be happy to help.
All right. All right, to move on.
Yeah, ready to move on.
All right. Let's see. New business number 2, approving the appointment of Miss Kerry Hustis as the Civil Service Board Secretary.
Okay, we'd like to open for public hearing. Anyone would like to speak on this motion, on this appointment? Any hands? Okay, I'm seeing anybody wanting to speak.
Oh.
All right, nobody wanting to speak?
I do have a question. Is there compensation remaining the same as previously, or should it be stated in here?
It's the whatever it's stated, I think it's set by ordinance, right, Nicole?
By ordinance, this is just something that the board approved, Kerry, the civil service board approved her, then it has to go before the council,
Okay.
on the council agenda.
Hasn't
Same
changed.
compensation is already done under ordinance, yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so no one wanting to speak. Public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Ms. Eustace.
Okay, new- Number 3, Miss Judy Roman, on behalf of St. Rita, respectfully requests the city provide barricades and/or a police escort as they proceed around the block for a procession scheduled for Sunday, January 10th, 2021, after 11:30 a.m. Mass.
Okay, public hearing is now open. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Any council discussion?
I'd just like to, I don't know, maybe caution the council about approving, I guess, public gatherings at this time. That's all.
Okay.
I'm gonna say approve it as long as the chiefs can handle the detail.
All right, Chief, you good?
We're good. Well, as usually, we've handled them in the past. We plan on
Okay.
handling this one also.
Okay, all in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
All right, 5 yeas, 0 nays. This motion passes. Madam Clerk?
And, I know Judy Johnson would like to address the council.
Okay,
Unmute Miss Judy.
okay, so we're now open to address the council. Ms. Judy?
Have 19 people participating in this meeting. We need to have citywide participation on the,
Question.
God bless you, Eric,
Thank you.
on the colonial thing. We need to see, the city needs to see the plans. Nobody's seen any of the plans that have been sent out. We had a meeting before where they showed us the plans. Mr. McCarron says he can't do anything with the 15 acres that are commercial. It would make a wonderful along with the Blake that has an entrance on Jefferson Highway. So he can't say he doesn't have the place to put it on Jefferson Highway. He does. He's got 15 acres that are being undeveloped. Well, except for the Blake, which he told us 5 years ago we'd never have that developed.
Did
And
you
he was
believe?
right.
Did he
And
say? I've
I'm
never heard him say he can't.
The man who came for the Blake told us years ago that they would never develop that commercial property. I was at the meeting, Eric. Also, Mr. McCarron said that these streets are.
You said Mr. McCarron said he can't put his property going out to Jefferson Highway. I've never heard Mr. McCarron say that.
Whether he said that he can't, he said he won't. He doesn't want to.
All right, thank you.
All right. He also said that these streets are going to be private. Well, that's great. That means the city won't have to do any kind of maintenance on those streets. But what about the drainage and the sewage lines underneath those streets? Are they going to be private too? Are they going to take care of them? Or are we going to have to bust up the street and then pay to have them fixed? Anybody got a question? Any got an answer on that?
If the
Nobody's
streets are private, we do not have to maintain them.
That's fine. But if they have a problem with the sewage underneath the streets, we have to tear up those streets to get to it. So who's going to pay for that?
I believe that they're paying sewer service fees and paying their water bills to the Jefferson Parish Department. It would follow just as it follows under the city as now, because they'll be paying part of that on their water bills. So they'll be entitled to that repair.
But who pays for the repair?
We, City of Harahan.
Correct. So we need to maintain the streets too. Those streets need to be turned over to the city just like everybody else's streets. We only have one private street that I know of in the city, and that's the one next to Colonial Shopping Center.
Correct.
Well, I would like some answers, but I guess I'm not going to get them, huh?
I
I
didn't,
think you just answered every question you asked.
I'd like to comment. I don't believe there's any benefit accruing to the city by having the street turned over to Harahan. I think it's just a liability.
I agree.
So,
Agreed.
Well, it is a liability, but it's a responsibility of the city to upkeep our streets and our lights and everything else that we pay for. But if these
No.
streets are going to be private, then the rest of the stuff should be private also.
I'll call Mr. Danny in a little while and ask him if he'll just turn it over to the city. He's not going to mind not maintaining the streets. You giving us more burden.
I'd rather he start fixing the sewerage and the drainage lines that are going to be underneath those.
Everything on Colonial property will be brand new.
Brand new.
Okay, Ms. Judy, you can continue.
I didn't understand what Eric said.
You said you want them to repair the sewer lines that's under the streets. There's no sewer lines there now. Everything he's developing is going to be brand new. It's going to have brand new sewer lines, brand new water lines, brand new fire hydrants, brand new drainage, brand new street.
And they'll be there forever. So sooner or later, they're going to break down.
Okay, Ms. Judy. can you-
That's it, folks. Y'all go ahead back.
Anybody else?
Nicole,
Nicole, you're muted.
Nicole,
There you are, Dane. I was muted. I muted myself. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Can I speak now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just want to let everyone know that we met with David Trepanier at his house with Jason Asbill and 8 or 9 property owners on Colonial Club Drive a while back. And Danny McCarron was there, and he asked for the meeting with David Trepanier. And while we were there, we discussed a lot of things. And toward the end, we just said, hey, let's just take a call for a vote. And the vote was 8-0 that we were all in favor of keeping the 75-foot buffer. And Danny McCarron just wanted to know where we stood as Colonial residents about whether having houses all along Colonial Club Drive that he was promoting, or a 75-foot buffer that could have a meandering walking path and landscaping and something that could be very special. Instead of the 40-acre park, at least we get a 3-acre something that's pretty special for the city. And I can't imagine a council that would ever think about that's in a law already at 1777 that states that we would have this 75-foot buffer, and they would have, I don't know if this is the right word, the gall to give that up, to give up that green space. And it amazes me that we had an 8-0 vote that night to keep the 75-foot buffer. And I just pray to God that this council doesn't get rid of that 75-foot buffer. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, then we'll close address to council. Madam Clerk, Secretary's report.
Okay, Secretary's report for October, $390,157. And the Secretary report for November and pay bills for November, half of our finance department was out with COVID. So we don't have those reports, but as soon as I get them, I will post them on the website immediately, and we'll just have to put these on the agenda, on the January agenda. But as soon as I get them, I'll have them posted on the website. We should get them this month. But anyway, moving on to reports.
Okay, Chief Walker.
I don't have a report available tonight. Our records clerk is on extended leave. I will have reports when they're available. Should be the next meeting. I and the Harahan Police Department want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a very safe and Happy New Year. God bless.
Okay, Chief St. Cyr.
I'd just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And if y'all need anything, give us a call.
Councilman Asbell.
Yeah, just one thing, well, two things, but on Saturday no, I'm not going to quote the times, but on Saturday throughout the day, there's going to be a sign display in front of the Harahan Fire Department. And it'll be a picture opportunity. You can go stick your head in a light bulb and take a picture. There'll be a post going out on Facebook, on all the Facebook channels tomorrow, and come by with the family, take a picture in front of this cool little display thing, and get a treat for the kids while you're there. And we'll post the times and all that. Other than that, we'll see y'all before then at another meeting, but Merry Christmas if we don't.
All right, Councilman Moody.
Yeah, I'd like to wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and just remind everybody that COVID is still with us and be safe. We should have it behind us in the next few months, hopefully. So just continue to do smart things. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Chatterley.
Yeah, I'm mute.
You're muted.
I can just wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And I did hear a rumor that if the weather's okay, Santa Claus will be riding through the streets of Harahan on Sunday. So we ready? Hope everybody's out, ready to wave and see Santa Claus. Thank you.
All right, Councilman Johnston.
Merry Christmas and have a happy and safe New Year.
Councilman Wheeler.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, so a couple of things. We do have the budget hearing that'll be coming up on December 22nd. That is at 5:30. That'll be discussing the 2021 budget. And any council members, if y'all have any questions about that budget, if y'all can send those to Todd Turney on prior to, maybe he can answer some of your questions. If not, so the budget hearing will be on December 22nd at 5:30. Also, we will then adopt the 2021 budget on December 28th at 6. So that, of course, will be the open meeting as they all went. I believe, Mayor, we're doing those through Zoom, correct?
Yes,
the next two are through Zoom.
Yes, ma'am, we are.
And again, like everybody else, hope everybody has a happy and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just stay safe. Thank you.
All right, y'all, this has been one crazy year for being mayor and working with this council, but we have done a lot of positive things. We've definitely, tried to turn lemons into lemonade, and I think we've done very well this year. Like I've said, almost from day one, taking on this administration, I have a wonderful team. I consider them to be the best team that Harahan's ever had, but I'm a little impartial because we're all so very close and we work so very hard. And I'm so very appreciative of how much time and dedication this team puts in. I mean, we saw it in the storm, the night of the storm. We were haul out on the street, cutting down trees, getting them out there. We had Councilman Chatterley checking wires. We pulling trees and branches. It's just unbelievable to be a part of a team, and for us, really a part of a family now after 2 years of working so close with one another. I hope the citizens get to see it. We're always there for you guys. I believe this is the hardest working council I've ever seen, and I've been on 3 councils prior, but I'll tell you this, they are the hardest working council I've ever seen. And I am so honored and blessed to be with them. So a very special Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you guys, and a very special and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's to everyone else out there. You guys, we are so available. We work so hard for you, and we're always here. So we hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the year. And I guess we'll see you soon at the budget meetings if you decide to attend. If not, we'll visit you next year, and hopefully we'll get to see Santa driving around on Sunday. So thank you very much. And again, I wish you guys the best holidays ever. Madam Clerk.
Pay bills. Bills paid in October, total expenditures, $646,682.20. And the November bills will be on the January.
Okay, no
Oh,
exec.
Mayor, I'm sorry. Can I say something real quick?
You
Just to
absolutely,
remind the public, madam, don't we have a box outside the door for them to drop off their property tax payments?
We have a lot, drop box right outside the front door of City Hall. You can drop off anything, your property tax payments, anything you need to drop off, and we check that box daily.
Okay, just to let the citizens know, I know Councilman Chatterley and I were at City Hall yesterday, and there was a gentleman that showed up. It was after hours, but we did point him in the direction of the box. But if they want a receipt, do they need to supply a self-addressed stamped envelope back for y'all to mail them back the receipt? And obviously no cash payments, correct?
Right, absolutely
Okay.
not.
Thank
will-
you.
I believe that's where everyone's supposed to drop off their gifts for the fire chief.
Yeah,
I was getting ready to jump in front of Mayor. You beat me to it, boy.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, Todd, it's a small box that is you and the police, y'all and the police
gonna
department. Those presents wouldn't fit in there if all
Well,
y'all
we just
did.
unboxed the refrigerator, so I'm gonna bring that refrigerator box
There you
over
go.
there.
There you go.
Thank
Make
you.
sure it fits them king cakes and all.
Awesome.
Look, I will warn, I love my mother-in-law to death, but I will warn the public not to put it in the post office box, put it in the drop box right by the front door of City Hall. All right. I love her to death, but it is what it is.
Did it come back to her in the mail?
Not yet.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it will.
Yes. Return sender.
Motion to adjourn?
I got a motion by Councilman Asbell, second by Councilman Johnson to adjourn. All in favor?
Yeah.
Hey,
5 yeas, 0 nays. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
good night.
Good night.
Good night.